Good morning. Welcome to Thursday morning FluentIQ introduction. We've got Sophie Harland here to join us all the way from the lovely Christchurch, and she's going to take us through the FluentIQ product suite just to give you guys a better insight into exactly what it is that their product does and how it might be able to help you achieve some of your recruitment goals. So FluentIQ has been integrated into Talent App Store now for, it's about 6 or so months, Sophie. Does that sound about right?
It's actually been just a little bit longer than that. Yeah, it's been just over, we're just coming up to a year.
So, yeah, right. Where has this year even gone? It still feels like it's maybe only July.
I know, I can't believe
so these guys have been around with us for a little while now, and we are huge fans of their product, and we just think what they're doing is really exceptional. I'm sure Sophie's going to tell you a little bit about what's happening for FluentIQ as a business, but they are going gangbusters overseas, particularly in markets where it's widely acknowledged that you've got people that speak multiple languages. But yeah, we're huge fans of the product, and we are keen to help anyone that might be looking at these kinds of challenges with assessing communication skills of potential recruits. So I'm going to hand over to Sophie and let her tell you a little bit more about FluentIQ and all the great things that are in there. And then if anyone's got any questions, just feel free to jump in at any point in time. I'll go through, and where I can, I'll upgrade everyone that's listening into speaking capability so that people can jump in and ask Sophie questions as they go. So Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Sophie.
Lovely, thanks so much. All right, well, I'll just jump straight into it. Give you a bit of an idea about who FluentIQ is, why we were created, and what we're doing now and where our positioning is across the marketplace, really. So I'll start by setting the scene by just sharing some facts with you that people quite often find a little bit surprising. New Zealand more and more so is becoming a hyper-diverse country. In fact, we've got 23% of our population is born overseas. We have got a huge percentage of people who are actually English as a second language. So upwards of 80% in some sectors, such as tech, health, finance, and service roles, that actually come from English as a second language background. And by the year 2020, it's predicted we're going to need 300,000 more people in the New Zealand economy to help fill recruitment roles. So there's some serious talent shortages coming, and it just really highlights the fact that we're going to need some really innovative ways to be able to do our recruitment, to be able to cater to this changing landscape. So with the reliance coming on a hugely global talent pool, there's obviously a whole new raft of challenges that we're going to be facing as a recruitment sector, and there's going to be a change in how we need to operate to be able to service this new market. So to stay abreast of trends, it's really a shift, as I mentioned. So a recent study out of Australia shows that communication is now rated as the highest skill needed by employers, higher in fact than qualifications. So it really is becoming more and more so a huge thing that we need to be able to do within the recruitment sector, and that's where FluentIQ comes in. Up until recently, there have been no scientifically robust, there have been no authentic ways to be able to actually measure someone's communication ability, and instead bias has been able to steer this a little bit. So that's been a factor that comes into play. So often it's unconscious, and it's a decision we need to make on the spot, but there's no other way to rely on how we can make this decision. So we make that decision, bias enters the equation, and so often valuable applicants are actually removed from our talent pool. So, oh goodness, this isn't. All right, here's where FluentIQ comes in. So we were developed as a tool to be able to overcome recruitment bias, empower greater diversity, and we like to say, change the world one applicant at a time. So it's a communication assessment.
It's a great goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So how it's been formulated, how our communication assessments have been driven is through a mix of machine automation and also crowdsourced human intelligence. That all sounds pretty high tech and out there, but really what it means for recruiters is we've been able to deliver a scientifically robust way in which you're able to clearly and easily and quickly highlight someone's communication ability and assess their suitability for a role at hand. So what the technology actually delivers for you is quick online assessments. You know, our shortest assessment takes about 5 or 10 minutes to complete, and our longest about 30 minutes. They're available 24/7 because they're all 100% online. We've tried to remove as many barriers as we possibly can for people. That's through online tests, through mobile-friendly capabilities, same-day results, and it's a fully automated system as well. So our price suite starts from actually as low as $2 and goes through to $25. And the certificate itself is embedded with a video of the candidate actually answering some questions, which is wonderful. So you can actually get a feel for how well they can articulate and formulate a response. So you get a bit of a sense for the candidate above and beyond just the data that is presented. So after this presentation, I'll show you an actual live certificate to give you an idea of what the results driven actually look like. We've also achieved some globally leading accuracy, which is really exciting for us. So some of the highest correlation scores achieved globally for communication assessments have been driven from within our data set, which is really exciting. So in terms of the actual business value that we offer, it is reliable data to make low-risk hiring decisions. So what we do is we really clearly highlight for you what someone's communication capability is. Embedded in the certificate, which you'll see in a moment, is a capability dial ranging from basic through to capable and then advanced. There is a rank score out of 10 and also an action statement, which has been driven from the CERF, which is the Common European Framework of Reference. That is the international English communication benchmark where all of the leading communication assessments are actually driven from. So this does allow us to compare to assessments such as IELTS, Cambridge, TOEFL and the like. Although we do say it is like comparing apples and oranges, what we are doing with our assessments is driving a real world capability. So we're not interested in the academic speak. We want to know how well can your candidate have a conversation that is ready and appropriate for the workplace. So very much so our communications are driven as real world communication technology, and that's really where we stand out in China against other English assessments. It's not for academic purposes, and that's really a clear difference that I think people should be aware of, because we are driving for that workplace fit. So we'll also empower you to be able to save a whole lot of time, which in the recruitment game, time is money, when you are actually doing your pre-screening. So we've got a suite of assessments ranging from a entry-level pre-screening assessment, which is placed at $2, results returned within just a few hours to your SnapHire dashboard, and it takes candidates around 5 or 6 minutes to complete. So that's very much driven as a pre-screening tool. That's our newest addition to our suite. So that's been released just in the last few weeks, and we've had some awesome uptake with it, particularly offshore where people have do high volume recruitment. We've had some awesome beta testing phases go through and some really good market feedback there. The difference with this certificate is that it's got an inbuilt photo as opposed to an inbuilt video, which our other two assessments have. So our chat assessment has got an inbuilt video, it's got the capability dials, it's got 100% ID verification. It takes about 10 minutes for assessment to be completed and results returned within 24 hours. And then we've got our founding assessment, which is the works assessment. So that is split across speaking, listening, reading and writing, inbuilt video, results within 24 hours, fully integrated within SnapHire. I'll show you some of the product functionalities in just a moment, but those are the three within our assessments. It's really easy for recruiters. You literally just select which bucket you'd like it in within your SnapHire flow, the way it goes, and within 24 hours or less, the results return within your dashboard.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things there, Soph, is it really is that the video, particularly of the person reading the text, you know, there's quite a bit, you know, one of the things that you guys really do a great job of is overcoming the testing fraud that happens for a lot of people when they're going through communication and skills testing, where there are some of those barriers, and you guys really get around that with the technology, because you do 100% qualify. And I think that you guys even AML standard, know your customer certified around the ID verification components as well, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. So you can be assured that the person who's presenting their certificate is in fact the person who sat the exam, particularly with the chat and the works product. Those are the two where we 100% verify identification. The new product, the Chat Lite, the $2 product, we don't have the ID verification built in within that piece of technology, but what we do have is the inbuilt video. So you're very easily able to sit there and match the person in front of you to the person who has actually sat the test. So,
but great pre-screener though as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and that comes back to the correlation scores I mentioned earlier. So really, really proud to have that as part of our offering, as that's some of the highest correlation scores.
Cool.
Good. And also the tool really, what it does is it empowers diversity and innovation through using a piece of technology such as this, particularly upfront within the process. It's part of the candidate journey that we've had some really good feedback from as well. It's an empowerment tool for the candidate. So even if they were to be unsuccessful in your particular placement, what you are able to do is actually take that and give it to the candidate, and they're able to use that to be uploaded into their LinkedIn profiles provided for future job applications as part of their CV as well. So obviously the data driven is for the company itself, but in terms of that candidate empowerment experience, they are actually living with something to really feel validated as part of that journey as well, which is really cool.
That's quite a cool employer brand experience as well, just being able to give something back to people that take the time to apply for your job.
And we've had a look into some figures and things, and people who upload a certification are 6 times more likely to get views on their LinkedIn profile. So in terms of future career prospects from having that experience with your brand, it really does empower them a bit further, which I think is really great.
Cool.
Lovely, jubbly. So that is the million mile an hour overview, but what I thought I might do is actually share some certificates with you and show what they actually look like, and just talk about the product features a little bit more, unless there were any questions now.
I think we might have, right. We do have a question from Pip. What are you verifying applicants against to meet AML KYC standards, so the anti-money laundering and know your customer standards, for anyone that's not familiar with those acronyms? So
the reason we can ID verify and drive that data is, first of all, we've got an actual manual overlay as part of our secret source technology that goes within the verification process. So we've actually got overseers that are able to interject and actually verify photo ID. It's part of a strict, robust process as part of the actual assessment, as you need verified photo ID in order to be able to have any results released ever, and that is manually verified through an overseer type scenario. So that's how we can drive the correlations between person and test taker and presenter of the certificate. And then, as I mentioned before, we've got the CERF, which is the benchmark system for actually being able to drive the correlation of scores between the output and the data presented as well.
Cool.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, hopefully. And I think, from a personal chip in there, I know some of the one of the advisors for FluentIQ is involved in a lot of financial industry organizations and businesses. So the standards that they are using are bank compliant to meet anti-money laundering standards. I'm sure if there's any particular questions, if anyone wanted to kind of look into a bit more detail, you guys would be able to provide all the details around that and what exactly that looks like. But I think
I do know we've got some case study stuff on it, so I can send through the proper documentation things. If anyone's interested in that, I can supply that.
Cool. Pip says, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Pip. Lovely. Okay, so what I might do is just really quickly bring up a certificate. Can you see my screen now? Has it changed for you?
Not yet.
Okay, you share this. Okay, can you see?
There we go. We can,
lovely.
Yes.
Okay, so what I've got here is an example of our works certificate. The commonalities across our 3 suite, which is Chat Lite, the $2 verbal screening technology. Chat, the $12 video embedded verbal assessment, and then Works, which is speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Basically, it is just the difference is the breakdown of skills. So Works here, you've got your speaking, your listening, your reading, and your writing. Obviously, with the Chat and Chat Lite, you would just have speaking and listening breakdown on there. So as I mentioned before, you've got the capability dial ranging from basic, capable through to advanced. So very quickly you can look at a candidate and see their overall score and then also a breakdown of the key competencies assessed and see exactly where it is that they're sitting and whether or not they're going to be suitable for the role that you're recruiting for. The action statement here is derived from the CERF. So it is a statement indicative of how their everyday communication is going to be understood and how well they themselves will understand. And then there's a breakdown of the competencies here as well. So you can see for this man, for example, he has got great reading and writing ability, but his speaking and his listening leaves a little bit to be desired. The reason I use Vincent here is because he is a level 5 HTML web developer. He is back end doing coding, he is not customer facing, but he needs to have really sharp reading and writing skills to be able to do the job successfully, and that's exactly what he has got. So traditionally, when you saw the name Vincent Petrov and you listened to his video, he's got actually quite a thick accent, which just takes a wee minute to be able to actually zone in on. You may assume that potentially his communication skill wasn't up to scratch, but in effect, he's actually a great hire because for the role he would be hired for, he's got the competencies needed. I'll just quickly play this video for you to show you what I mean about that accentedness, which just takes a moment to be able to tune into. So I'm not sure if you could pick that up, but he was talking about the number of animals living in apartments. So he was talking about should it be limited or not. So as you can see, speaking and listening is potentially letting him down in terms of just that first communication, but in terms of the hiring, he's actually got some great skills there. So this is what the Works assessment looks like. As I mentioned before, having the comparability with the CERF does mean you can actually have a look at how this would stack up against some of the systems such as IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, and those sorts of which you may be more familiar with. And then what I am going to do is just quickly show you our Chat Lite assessment as well, because this is our newest piece of technology. This is what's really exciting for us. This is what we're getting some really great feedback from, is our Chat Lite assessment. So as I mentioned before, this is priced at $2. It does not have the inbuilt video, but it does have the verified photo, which you're able to use to verify yourself. And you've got the overall score, the speaking, and the listening breakdown. So it is a more consolidated set of questions as opposed to our chat technology, which does give us a more robust data set. This is a more skinny down version. As I said, it's going to take no more than 5 minutes from creating the account to finishing the assessment, and the results return within your dashboard within just a few hours. So it's a really sharp, slick piece of technology and something that we're really excited about.
And a great dipping your toe in the water to this kind of technology if people haven't already got it at like a ridiculously cheap cost, really. Because it's a per assessment charge on this one, isn't it?
Per assessment charge, yes. Exactly. We keep it really flexible in terms of how people would like to purchase our technology. We don't lock you into monthly purchase orders or minimum purchase orders. We really just sit down with you, talk about what your business needs are, what assessment's going to suit the hiring you're trying to do, and how we can put together a package that's going to be most attractive for you. Awesome. So this is a great entry-level tool. As you mentioned earlier in the webinar, we have got a really big global presence. So I just need to clarify, when I'm talking in terms of numbers, I talk in US dollars, just because that's where most of our clients are placed around the world. We just talk in terms of global currency. But there is obviously room for corporate discount and volume discount and everything available. So the assessment prices themselves are open for negotiation when we sort of look at how it's going to be used.
Awesome. Thanks, Sophie.
Yeah, just want to clarify that. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we really, with our technology, it can be positioned in so many different places, straight through from pre-screening through to shortlisted to even team compositions, to see how well and effective people can communicate within existing teams. So what we really do in the first instance is meet with anyone who may be interested in exploring our technology, understand a little bit about what their business struggles are, any challenges they may be facing, how they'd like to improve, and really suggest where some of our tools might be able to be placed to help overcome that. And from there, we would look to run, quite often with our Snap Hire in particular clients, we would look to run a trial with you as well. So you can get a real feel for the UX, you can get a feel for what the candidate's going to be going through. We have in the past also looked to, before committing to anything too large, just give us one job, we'll test it on one job, see what the data you get from that is, see what the value added is, and then look to roll that out in a bigger model as well. So we try and be as flexible as we can be to work in with what the business needs are. We know it's big to implement a new piece of technology, so we try and make that an easy and non-scary experience.
Cool. And I think that's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's good to be able to do a toe in the water, as you said, and get a feel for the technology before before looking at anything too big.
Cool.
Lovely. So that is literally the million mile an hour overview. Were there any more questions?
There's nothing written in, but is there anything that anyone would like to ask at the moment? Or I guess the key thing is this is integrated into Snap Hire if you're an existing Snap Hire user. We are more than happy if you jump into the apps tab, you can pop through there, hit the install button, and then obviously follow the rest of the instructions in there. And that's something that it's pretty quick. This is not one of those pieces of software that takes a huge amount of implementation or setup. Really from expressing interest to getting going and having this kind of working through your Snap Hire process and having these results available in your candidate record in your Snap Hire system. We're literally talking maybe just I guess it's just around making sure you've got the right views set up, and we could probably just about have you up and going maybe same day, next day.
Yeah. If we started in the morning, same day.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick process. So, don't let, by all means, definitely get in there, give this a go. Really think it's a great piece of technology. And I think if we go back to that first set of slides you showed us, Sophie, and one of the things I'm really conscious of is the changing makeup of some of those numbers are very oriented towards New Zealand, but obviously Australia as well. It's a very dynamic culture base where, accentedness doesn't necessarily indicate somebody's communication skills, and the nature of work is changing. So lots of roles now are not necessarily about some of the speaking skills, and maybe less important than what they were, say 5 or 10 years ago. And there are definitely some roles where reading and writing is going to be more important, and other roles where maybe speaking and listening is more important. And the key thing is not to miss out on the very best people. And I think when we look at that, even for that New Zealand number of 300,000 for New Zealand, it was such a tiny country it's a staggering number. And, those roles are, they're not all barristers or engineers. We're talking about cleaners, and we're talking about customer service roles, we're talking about construction workers. And what we really want to make sure that we're doing is we're helping organizations find the very best people, whether it's to take care of patients, or whether it's to greet staff, or whether it's to take care of customer queries and process transactions, or whatever it might be, that they're absolutely getting the right people, and where somebody came from in the world shouldn't be an obstacle. And I actually come from Yorkshire, and when we moved here as a child, I was desperately conscious of my accent, and people couldn't understand me. And I worked super hard to get rid of my accent, because people would just look at me blankly and really had no idea what was going on. It wasn't that I had, my English was relatively good, given that I had very strong colloquial South Yorkshire accent. but you know, I wasn't easily understood. So this is something I'm personally quite passionate about, because accentedness isn't necessarily a language issue. It can be just a dialect, or it can be you know, and it certainly isn't indicative of intelligence or capability.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you guys are doing is a great thing. So really encourage you guys to get in touch with Sophie and the team. And what's the best way for them to do that, Soph?
Probably just to flick me an email. I did have it written up, but it was just sophie@fluentiq.com. So nice and easy. We've also got on our website, which is fluentiq.com, an inquire now or launch a demo inquiry button as well. So if you were to get in touch with us via either one of those two mechanisms, I'll reach out to you and we can get you set up with a trial if that's something you would like to run. Can send you some more information, a breakdown of each of the assessments we've got, and just really have the conversation, see what the technology is. Would love to explore how it might be able to fit within different business needs and where we can make a difference and overcome some business struggles.
Cool. Or hit the install button on your apps page.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That also triggers, so we'll get in touch if that happens.
Great. Awesome. Well, I think that's us. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we would happily take any questions after this if anyone's watching the recording after the fact. Thanks so much, Sophie. Thanks everyone for joining us. Can't wait to hear what your great uptake is, Soph.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.